Hey, sweetheart, rank, or you just here to bring coffee? The question lands in the middle of Coronado Naval Base war room, like a grenade with the pin already pulled. Lieutenant Commander Brooks Halden stands near the tactical display, arms crossed, that trademark SEAL smirk plastered across his face. Around him, 6 other operators lean against consoles or check gear, their laughter rippling through the space designed for classified briefings and strategic planning. Morning light filters through reinforced windows, casting hard shadows across maps and satellite imagery. In the corner, Lennox Marin Hale stands perfectly still. Navy working uniform, no insignia, hair pulled back in a regulation bun. 29 years old, 5'7", unremarkable except for the way she holds herself. Spine straight, hands loose at her sides, eyes forward, tracking nothing and everything simultaneously. Halden takes 3 steps closer. His boots echo on polished concrete. "I'm talking to you, sweetheart. What's your rank?" Lennox does not blink. Her voice emerges flat, stripped of inflection. "I don't answer questions that lack proper military courtesy." The room temperature seems to drop 5 degrees. One of the SEALs, Chief Petty Officer Waller, shifts his weight and exchanges a glance with the operator next to him. Something in that statement carried weight, not defiance, not fear, something else entirely. Halden's smirk widens. He closes the distance between them in 2 strides, reaching out to grab a fistful of her uniform collar. The fabric bunches in his grip as he yanks her forward slightly. "I asked you a question. You answer when a superior officer speaks to you." Lennox does not resist the pull, does not plant her feet or twist away. She simply stands there, letting physics dictate her body's slight forward lean, her breathing unchanged. 4 counts in through the nose, 4 counts held, 4 counts out through the mouth, 4 counts empty. The rhythm continues beneath the surface, invisible to everyone watching but somehow present in the stillness of her shoulders. "Zero rank nobody," Halden says, loud enough for the entire room to hear. Probably some admin clerk who wandered into the wrong building. He releases her collar with a small shove, just enough force to make a point without crossing the line into what anyone would officially call assault. Lennox adjusts her uniform with 2 precise movements. Her gaze never leaves a point approximately 6 inches to the left of Halden's face. Not avoidance, not submission. The calculated positioning of someone who has studied violence the way architects study load-bearing structures. Waller clears his throat. "Brooks, maybe what?" Halden wheels on him. "You got something to say, Chief?" Waller's jaw works for a moment. He is 43 years old, 22 years in the Navy, 14 of those with naval special warfare. He has seen operators crack under pressure and civilians freeze under fire. What he is watching right now fits neither category. That girl is not frozen. She is waiting. The distinction makes his pulse tick faster. "Nothing," Waller says finally. "Just saying we got briefing in 15. Halden turns back to Lennox, studies her like she is a puzzle he has not quite figured out how to solve. Then he steps even closer, invading the bubble of personal space that military protocol usually maintains. "You know what I think? I think you're in way over your head. This is a SEAL briefing room. We handle classified operations, real combat, not whatever paper pushing you usually do." Lennox's breathing continues its 4-count pattern. Her hands remain at her sides. When she speaks, her tone carries no more emotion than a weather report. "Is there anything else, sir?" The honorific lands wrong, too precise, too empty of actual deference. Halden's expression darkens. Without warning, he shoves her backward. Not a punch, not a strike, but a 2-handed push to the center of her chest with enough force to send most people stumbling. Lennox's back hits the concrete wall with an audible impact. The sound reverberates through the war room. Maps on nearby boards shiver slightly from the vibration. But she does not cry out, does not gasp, does not bring her hands up defensively or show any indication that the collision hurt, though basic physics says it must have. She simply stands against the wall, weight distributed evenly through both feet, and looks at Halden with those same flat, measuring eyes. "Brooks." Waller's voice carries an edge now. "That's enough." Halden ignores him. He is focused entirely on the woman in front of him, trying to find the crack in whatever armor she has wrapped around herself. "You're not even going to defend yourself? What kind of sailor are you?" 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out, 4 counts empty. The pattern holds. Another SEAL, younger, maybe 26, leans toward his buddy. "This is weird, man. She's not scared, she's not angry. What is she?" His companion shrugs, but the movement is uneasy. Maybe she's got some kind of training? Psych eval candidate? Halden reaches out again, this time grabbing Lennox's shoulder and giving it a shake. I asked you a question. What kind of sailor stands there and takes it like a punching bag? Lennox's lips part slightly. When words emerge, they are measured and deliberate. The kind who knows when to fight and when to document. For half a heartbeat, something flickers across Halden's face. Uncertainty, maybe, or recognition that he has just heard something that does not fit the narrative he constructed. But then his ego reasserts itself and he steps back, dusting his hands together like he has just handled something dirty. Document this, he says, and backhands her across the face. The slap cracks through the war room like a whip. Lennox's head snaps to the side from the impact. A thin line of blood appears at the corner of her mouth where the inside of her lip caught against teeth. For 3 full seconds, nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Then Lennox straightens, turns her head back to neutral position, raises one hand, slowly, deliberately, and wipes the blood away with the back of her thumb. She examines the red smear for exactly 1 second before lowering her hand back to her side. She does not speak. She does not cry. She does not even look particularly hurt. Waller takes an involuntary step forward, then stops himself. Every instinct screams that this situation is wrong, but he cannot articulate why. The girl should be reporting this. She should be angry or terrified or something. Instead, she stands there like she is watching Halden through bulletproof glass, cataloging his actions with clinical detachment. Nothing to say? Halden presses. No threats to report me? No tears? Lennox's breathing continues its steady rhythm. Are you finished, sir? The question hangs in the air, loaded with implications that nobody in the room fully understands yet. Halden opens his mouth to respond, but the tactical operations officer enters from the adjacent corridor, carrying a tablet and looking harried. Brief push to 1300, the officer announces. Admiral Kincaid's plane got delayed. Everyone clear the room except essential personnel. Halden points at Lennox. That include her? The ops officer barely glances up from his tablet. Observer roster is classified. You'll know who needs to be where when the brief starts. He waves a hand dismissively. Out, all of you. The SEALs file toward the exit, gear clanking, conversation resuming in low murmurs. Waller passes close to Lennox on his way out. He keeps his voice barely above a whisper. You okay? Lennox does not turn her head. Yes, Chief. That was out of line. You should report. I will handle it appropriately. Thank you for your concern. The phrasing is perfect. Regulation compliant, completely devoid of actual information. Waller hesitates, wanting to say more, but Halden is already calling from the doorway. Waller, move it! The chief leaves. The room empties. Lennox remains standing against the wall for another 30 seconds, alone in the space designed for strategic warfare planning. Then she walks to the nearest water fountain, rinses her mouth, and exits through a different door. If you think this is just another bullying story, pay close attention. That woman just stood there taking hits like she was waiting for something specific. Hit that like button and subscribe, because the price Brooks Halden pays is going to be unforgettable. The sun drops below the western horizon at 1823. Coronado Naval Base transitions into evening routine. Lights clicking on across administrative buildings, personnel securing workspaces, the distant sound of colors being struck. Somewhere a helicopter conducts night landing practice, rotors chopping through cooling air. Deep in the classified records facility, accessible only through 3 separate security checkpoints and a biometric scanner, Lennox sits at a terminal in a room with no windows. The space measures exactly 12 feet by 8 feet. Concrete walls, reinforced door, a single overhead light that makes everything look slightly washed out. She opens a laptop that appears standard issue but carries encryption protocols 3 levels above what typical Navy personnel ever see. The login process requires a retinal scan, a 16-digit alphanumeric code, and a physical authentication key that stays on her person at all times. The screen illuminates her face in cold blue light. Black Neptune. Mission, 49A target, Lieutenant Commander Brooks Halden, suspected violation, unauthorized disclosure of classified Aegis combat system. Technical specifications to foreign intelligence operatives. Estimated value of compromised data, $900 million. Estimated compromise to fleet security, catastrophic. Authorization level, Rear Admiral 07 minimum cover. Status, deep insertion, non-attributed personnel. Lennox scrolls through the file. Halden's service record appears first. 15 years in the Navy, 6 with the SEALs, multiple combat deployments, exemplary fitness reports, 2 Navy commendation medals. Surface level, he looks exactly like what the recruiting posters promise. A warrior, a professional, a guardian. Then the classified annexes load. Financial irregularities starting 8 months ago, bank deposits that do not align with military pay, encrypted communications with known intermediaries, a pattern of requesting access to technical documentation beyond his operational need to know. 3 different junior sailors reporting that Halden asked them to pull files they had no business accessing, and at the center of it all, the Aegis data, the combat system that coordinates fleet air defense, ballistic missile defense, surface warfare, the technological backbone of American naval power. Someone leaked technical manuals targeting algorithms, software vulnerabilities, the kind of information that hostile nations would pay fortunes to acquire. The investigation has been running for 11 months. Standard NCIS protocols hit dead ends. Halden is too careful, too connected. He has relationships throughout SEAL Command, friends in the Inspector General's office, a reputation that makes accusations stick to him like water on Teflon. So the Navy activated Black Neptune, a program so classified that fewer than 30 people in the entire military know it exists. The operational concept is simple. Place a senior officer in deep cover, allow them to be targeted by suspects, document everything, and use the accumulated evidence to prosecute cases that normal investigations cannot touch. The officers selected for Black Neptune must meet specific criteria. 06 or higher rank. Immaculate record. Psychological profile indicating extreme stress tolerance. Willingness to endure significant personal hardship for mission success. Lennox Marin Hale qualified on all counts. At 24, she was the youngest person ever selected for the Navy's Strategic Intelligence Program. At 26, she received accelerated promotion to 04 for actions during a crisis in the Strait of Hormuz that remained classified. At 28, she made 06. 6 months ago, at 29, she pinned on 07 Rear Admiral, lower half, in a ceremony that exactly 4 people attended. Nobody outside of Black Neptune Command knows her real rank. Her official service record, the one that standard database queries return, lists her as an 03 lieutenant assigned to administrative support duties. That cover identity gives her access to bases and facilities without drawing attention. It makes her appear vulnerable, easy to intimidate, safe to underestimate. It makes her the perfect bait. Lennox closes the mission file and opens another folder. This one contains surveillance reports from the past 6 weeks. Halden's movements, his contacts, his routines. She has memorized all of it. She knows he goes to the gym at 05:30 every morning. She knows he drinks exactly 2 beers at the O Club on Friday nights. She knows he has a pattern of targeting junior female personnel with verbal harassment, testing boundaries, seeing how far he can push before someone pushes back. What he does not know is that every interaction is being recorded, every word documented, every witness cataloged. The mission parameters are clear. Maintain cover, allow Halden to escalate naturally, intervene only if civilian life is at immediate risk. Do not reveal identity until the moment of maximum legal impact. Build the case brick by brick until it becomes unassailable. Today's incident in the war room was not random. Lennox positioned herself there deliberately, knowing Halden would be present, knowing his personality would not allow him to ignore her. She needed him to act out in front of witnesses. She needed him to cross lines while senior personnel were nearby but not intervening. She needed him to think he was invincible. Tomorrow, he will receive his next tasking, a major operation requiring him to access specific technical files. Files that he will absolutely need to compromise if he wants to pass information to his handlers. Files that are now flagged in every database, monitored by systems he does not know exist. Lennox saves her notes using a save protocol that uploads everything to 3 separate secure servers simultaneously. Then she shuts down the laptop, secures it in the facility's storage vault, and exits through the biometric checkpoints. Outside, the base has settled into night watch routine. She walks past the bachelor officer quarters, past the exchange, past the chapel with its lit cross. Her pace never changes. Her expression never shifts. To any observer, she is just another junior officer heading back to her assigned space after a long day. Only the slight swelling at the corner of her mouth suggests anything unusual happened. She does not touch it, does not ice it, does not take pain medication or file any kind of medical report. Instead, she goes to her quarters, changes into workout gear, and runs 6 miles through the darkness while her breathing maintains that same 4-count pattern. 4 in, 4 held, 4 out, 4 empty. The rhythm of someone who learned breath control in situations where panic meant death. Morning arrives at Coronado with the kind of aggressive sunshine that Southern California specializes in. 0630 finds the base waking up in stages. Physical training sessions, chow lines forming at the dining facility, maintenance crews already sweating through their uniforms while the day is still cool. Lennox enters the war room at 0745, exactly 15 minutes before the rescheduled briefing. The space has been reconfigured overnight. Additional secure terminals line one wall. Satellite imagery covers 3 large displays. A classification banner runs across the top of every screen. Top secret, special access required, no foreign. She takes a position in the back corner, same as yesterday. Same unremarkable uniform, same lack of insignia. A small bruise darkens the skin near her mouth, but her expression reveals nothing about how it got there. The SEALs arrive in a cluster at 0752. Halden leads the group, laughing about something, looking refreshed and confident. He spots Lennox immediately. The laughter cuts off. "You again." He crosses the room with that same aggressive swagger. "I thought admin types didn't have clearance for special access briefings." Lennox stands at a modified parade rest, hands clasped behind her back. "I am authorized to be here." "Authorized by who?" Halden plants himself directly in front of her, close enough that she would have to crane her neck backward to maintain eye contact if she were actually looking at him. "Show me your orders." "My authorization is classified." Halden's face flushes. Several other SEALs watch the exchange with varying degrees of discomfort. Waller shifts his weight, opens his mouth as if to intervene, then apparently thinks better of it. The operational climate in special warfare communities is complex. Junior personnel do not casually contradict senior operators. Even when something feels wrong, the chain of command and unit cohesion create pressures against speaking up. "Classified," Halden repeats, voice dripping with contempt. "You know what I think? I think you're lying. I think you conned your way in here yesterday, and you're trying to pull the same stunt today." He looks around at the others. "Anyone else think this is nonsense?" A few uncertain nods. One SEAL, younger and clearly uncomfortable, says, "Maybe we should just wait for the brief to start. The ops officer will sort it out." "No," Halden's voice goes hard. "I'm sorting it out right now. This is a SEAL briefing room, classified special access operations. We don't just let random people wander in because they feel like it." He reaches out and grabs Lennox's arm, fingers digging in above the elbow. "You're leaving, now." Lennox does not pull away. Her breathing remains steady. "I am authorized to attend this briefing. You are interfering with a lawful operation." The phrasing is odd, specific. Waller catches it and frowns. What kind of junior officer talks about lawful operations when getting manhandled by a lieutenant commander? Halden leans in close, voice dropping to something that might sound reasonable to anyone not paying attention to the threat underneath. "Listen carefully. You walk out of here right now, and I forget this happened. You stay, and I make sure everyone knows you're the kind of person who doesn't respect security protocols. Your choice. 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out, 4 counts empty." "I am staying," Lennox says quietly. And that is when Halden punches her. Not a slap this time, not a shove. A closed fist, driven with the full mechanical advantage of shoulders and hips, straight into her jaw. The impact makes a sound like a wooden mallet hitting a side of beef. Lennox's head snaps back. Her body follows, knees unlocking as the force overwhelms her base of support. She falls, hits the concrete floor hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. The war room goes silent. 7 SEALs stand frozen in various positions. Waller has both hands half raised as if he started to intervene but could not complete the motion. The younger operator's mouth hangs open. 2 others exchange looks of pure shock. Halden stands over Lennox, breathing hard, fists still clenched. "Anyone else want to question my authority?" Nobody answers. Lennox lies on the floor, one hand pressed to her jaw. Blood seeps between her fingers where the inside of her mouth split against teeth. Her other arm is bent at an awkward angle beneath her torso. For 5 seconds, she does not move. Then she inhales. The breath shudders slightly but maintains its pattern. 4 counts. She rolls onto her side, then pushes herself up to hands and knees. Blood drips from her mouth onto the polished concrete, small dark spots appearing in a rough line. She gets 1 foot under her, then the other, rising in stages like someone learning to stand after a long illness. When she is fully upright, swaying slightly, she touches her jaw gingerly. Tests the movement. Nothing broken, though the bone will bruise deep purple within hours. She wipes blood from her lip with the back of her hand, examines it briefly, then lowers the hand back to her side. She does not speak, she does not cry, she does not even look at Halden. Instead, she looks past him, focusing on something in the middle distance that nobody else can see. Her breathing continues, in, held, out, empty, the pattern of someone who has trained their autonomic nervous system to override panic responses. "You?" One of the SEALs finally finds his voice. "Brooks, you just—" "In the war room." "I dealt with a security breach," Halden snaps. "She had no business being here. Someone should have stopped her at the door." Waller's face has gone pale. He is staring at Lennox with an expression that mixes horror and something else. Something like recognition. The way she fell. The way she stood back up. The way she is standing now. Weight balanced, hands loose, eyes tracking threats even with blood running down her chin. That is not admin personnel. That is not someone trained for desk work. That stance, that breathing, that absolute refusal to show pain or fear, he has seen it before, in operators, in people who spent time in places where showing weakness meant dying. "Brooks," he says carefully, "I think we should—" The door to the war room opens. Everyone's head turns toward the sound. 6 men enter in a formation that brooks no confusion about their authority. They wear service dress blues, ribbons stacked in colorful rows above their breast pockets, shoulder boards gleaming with gold stars. The first through the door carries 3 stars. The second has 3. The third, fourth, and fifth each have 2. The 6th has 4. Behind them, 4 personnel in military police uniforms, sidearms holstered, but clearly ready for rapid deployment. The room's oxygen seems to evacuate. Halden's face transitions through several colors in quick succession, red to white to something approaching gray. The other SEALs snap to attention so fast their gear rattles. Even Lennox, still swaying slightly and bleeding onto the floor, brings her hands to her sides and squares her shoulders. Admiral Kincaid, commander of Naval Forces Pacific, 3 stars across his shoulders like artillery rounds ready to fire, steps forward first. He is 61 years old, 38 years in service, with a reputation for absolute precision in both operations and justice. His gaze sweeps the war room, taking in the blood on the floor, the frozen SEALs, Lennox standing against the wall with her jaw already swelling. Then he looks at Halden. The temperature drops 20 degrees. "Lieutenant Commander Halden," Kincaid's voice could cut steel. "Stand at attention." Halden snaps upright, though his hands are shaking. "Sir, I can explain—" "You will not speak unless directly questioned. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." Admiral Reeves moves to Kincaid's right. 2 stars, head of strategic intelligence for the Pacific Fleet. His eyes find Lennox and something passes across his face. Not surprise, grim confirmation. Admiral Cross takes the left position. 2 stars, Atlantic Fleet Surface Warfare. He looks at the blood on the floor and his jaw tightens. The 3 rear admirals from Naval Special Warfare Command fan out slightly, creating a wall of authority that fills the room like a physical presence. One of them, Admiral Chen, has worked with SEAL teams for 20 years. He knows Halden, he knows his record, and judging by the expression on his face, he knows that record just became irrelevant. Why is Chief Waller sweating when a SEAL just threw a punch in a war room? Drop a comment with your theory, because what happens next is going to flip every assumption you just made. Kincaid takes 3 measured steps forward. His shoes make precise sounds against concrete. He stops exactly 6 feet from Halden and clasps his hands behind his back. The military police remain by the door, watchful but not yet moving. "Lieutenant Commander Halden," Kincaid says with the kind of calm that precedes volcanic eruptions. "Approximately 45 seconds ago, you struck another service member in this facility, is that correct?" Halden's throat works. "Sir, there was a security, I thought—" "Answer the question. Did you strike her?" "Yes, sir." "With a closed fist?" Sweat beads on Halden's forehead. Sir, if I could just explain the circumstances. Answer the question. Yes, sir. Closed fist. Kincaid nods slowly. He turns his head slightly toward Reeves without breaking eye contact with Halden. Admiral Reeves, can you confirm the identity of the individual Lieutenant Commander Halden assaulted? Reeves pulls a tablet from his briefcase, taps it twice, then reads from the screen. His voice carries through the war room with perfect clarity. Rear Admiral Lennox Marin Hale, service number classified, current assignment, Black Neptune Operational Security Investigation, rank 07, Rear Admiral lower half. Authorized clearances, TS, SCI, Special Access Programs 1 through 7, Critic, and SPECAT. The words land like artillery shells. Waller's knees actually buckle slightly. He catches himself against a nearby console, staring at Lennox with eyes wide enough to show white all the way around. One of the younger SEALs makes a sound like all the air just got punched out of his lungs. Another whispers something that might be a prayer or a curse or both. Halden's face cycles through emotions too fast to track. Confusion, disbelief, recognition, horror. His mouth opens and closes several times without producing sound. Lennox remains against the wall, blood still seeping from the split in her lip, but her posture has shifted fractionally. Spine somehow straighter, chin lifted half an inch. Not arrogance. Simple fact. She no longer needs to hide in plain sight. Rear Admiral, Halden's voice cracks. She's 29. That's impossible. You can't make 07 at 29. The promotion board, the time and service requirements. You will address her by her rank, Admiral Chen cuts in, voice like gravel through a wood chipper. That is Rear Admiral Hale, and you will not speak to her, about her, or in her presence without explicit permission. Am I clear? Sir, there must be some mistake. Kincaid raises one hand. The gesture silences Halden as effectively as a gag. There is no mistake. Rear Admiral Hale was promoted to 07 6 months ago under special authority granted by the Chief of Naval Operations and confirmed by the Secretary of the Navy. Her promotion was classified due to the nature of her assignment with Black Neptune. That classification does not make her rank any less real or her authority any less binding. He lets that sink in for 3 full seconds. You asked her rank yesterday, Lieutenant Commander. You asked again today. She attempted to de-escalate. You responded with physical violence. In doing so, you committed assault on a flag officer, in this room, in front of witnesses, with security footage capturing every frame. Halden sways like someone just hit him with a bat. I didn't know. Nobody told me. How was I supposed to? You were supposed to show basic military courtesy to another service member regardless of their rank. Admiral Reeves steps forward, tablet still in hand. You were supposed to follow established protocols for challenging someone's presence in a classified space. You were supposed to, at minimum, not put your hands on another sailor. Instead, you chose intimidation and violence. The military police shift positions slightly, a subtle movement that puts them at better angles for rapid intervention. Lennox wipes her mouth again, streaking blood across the back of her hand. When she speaks, her voice emerges quiet but crystalline in its clarity. Permission to address the Admirals, sir? Kincaid nods. Granted, Admiral Hale. She straightens further, coming fully to attention despite the swelling spreading across her jaw. The physical assault is documented. However, it is secondary to the primary mission objective. Lieutenant Commander Halden is scheduled to receive tasking for Operation Seahawk at 0800 hours. That operation requires him to access Aegis technical documentation. I recommend we proceed with the briefing as planned and allow him to fulfill his role while under surveillance. The statement drops into the room like a stone into still water. Halden's eyes go wide. Aegis documentation? What are you talking about? I don't have anything to do with... You will not speak, Admiral Chen says flatly. Reeves looks at Lennox with something approaching respect. Admiral Hale, you understand that proceeding puts you at additional risk. Halden now knows your identity. Continuing the operation becomes significantly more dangerous. Understood, sir. However, the case requires documentation of active compromise, not just preparatory actions. If we arrest now, his network remains intact. If we allow the operation to proceed, we can identify and interdict all participants simultaneously. Kincaid studies her face. The blood, the bruising, the absolute absence of anything resembling hesitation or fear. That is your professional assessment? Yes, sir. And you are willing to continue despite the assault? 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out, 4 counts empty. I am here to complete the mission, sir. Personal considerations are secondary to operational success. For a long moment, nobody moves. The 6 admirals exchange looks that carry entire conversations worth of meaning. Waller stares at the floor like he wants it to open up and swallow him. The other SEALs stand frozen, trying to process the fact that the woman they watched get punched is not only a flag officer, but is actively running an investigation that apparently involves their lieutenant commander. Finally, Kincaid nods. Very well, we proceed as planned. He turns back to Halden. Lieutenant Commander, you are to attend the Operation Seahawk briefing. You will execute your assigned tasks exactly as outlined. You will not deviate from your mission parameters. You will not contact anyone outside of approved communication channels. And you will absolutely not approach, speak to, or interact with Rear Admiral Hale in any capacity. 4 military police personnel will maintain surveillance on you at all times. Any violation of these instructions will result in immediate arrest. Clear? Halden looks like he is watching his entire world collapse in real time. Sir, I don't understand what's happening. You don't need to understand. You need to follow orders. Can you do that, Lieutenant Commander? Yes, sir. Good. Kincaid gestures to the MPs. Escort him to the briefing theater. Maintain visual contact at all times. The military police move in, taking positions around Halden without actually touching him. The formation is professional but unmistakable in its purpose. They are not there to protect him. They are there to prevent him from running. As they guide him toward the door, Halden twists back to look at Lennox. His face shows a dozen different emotions, but the dominant one is betrayal. We served together. Yemen. You remember Yemen? I saved your life. 14 hours in that cave and I stayed with you. I pulled you out of that ambush. How can you do this to me? Lennox meets his eyes for the first time since the admirals entered. When she speaks, her tone carries no anger, no satisfaction, no emotion at all. You asked my rank, Lieutenant Commander. Now you have your answer. The MPs guide him out. The door closes behind them with a sound like a vault ceiling. Silence fills the war room. Then Admiral Kincaid turns to the remaining SEALs. Gentlemen, you are confined to quarters until further notice. You will not discuss what you witnessed here with anyone. You will not contact Lieutenant Commander Halden. You will make yourselves available for statements when called upon. Chief Waller, you will coordinate with the investigation team. Dismissed. The SEALs file out, moving like sleepwalkers. Waller pauses near Lennox, opens his mouth, closes it, then simply nods once before following the others. When the room is empty except for the 6 admirals and Lennox, the atmosphere shifts. Kincaid's rigid command presence softens fractionally. Corman is standing by outside. Get that jaw examined. It is not broken, sir. That was not a suggestion, Admiral. Get examined. That is an order. Yes, sir. Reeves steps closer, voice dropping. Hale, you do not have to continue if you have any doubts about safety or mission viability. We can trigger containment protocols right now. Lennox shakes her head slightly, then winces as the movement aggravates her injury. Halden is scheduled to access the compromised files in 90 minutes. His handler is expecting a dead drop by 1400 hours. If we move now, the handler disappears and we lose the entire network. I can maintain cover for another 6 hours. That is all we need. Admiral Cross, who has been silent until now, speaks with the kind of gruff pragmatism that 25 years in surface warfare beats into a person. You got punched in the face by a SEAL in front of witnesses, and you are still thinking operational priorities. That is either extremely professional or slightly insane. The corner of Lennox's uninjured mouth lifts perhaps half a millimeter. Those categories are not mutually exclusive, sir. Despite the circumstances, several of the admirals show flickers of something that might be approval, or might be concern, or might be both. Chen gestures toward the door. Corman, now. Then you brief us on contingencies for the next phase. Move. Aye, aye, sir. Lennox walks toward the exit, her gait still steady despite everything. As she reaches the door, Kincaid calls out, Admiral Hale. She stops and turns. For what it is worth, Kincaid says quietly, what you are doing matters. The Navy does not have many officers willing to take this kind of personal risk for institutional integrity. Your service is noted. Lennox stands at attention despite the blood still drying on her chin, despite the swelling turning half her face into abstract art, despite the fact that every movement probably sends pain signals screaming through her nervous system. Thank you, sir, but I am just doing my job. She exits. The 6 admirals stand in the war room for another 30 seconds, saying nothing. Then Reeves breaks the silence. That woman is either going to save this Navy or break herself trying. Kincaid looks at the blood spots on the floor. Let's make sure it's the former. The medical bay occupies a climate-controlled corner of the administrative complex, staffed 24 hours by personnel trained to handle everything from routine physicals to combat trauma. Hospital Corpsman Second Class Rivera has 12 years of experience, 3 deployments, and a poker face that usually serves him well. But when Rear Admiral Lennox Hale walks through his door at 08:15 with half her face swollen and blood-crusted at the corner of her mouth, that poker face develops cracks. Ma'am. He stands so fast his chair rolls backward into a cabinet. What happened? Workplace disagreement. Lennox sits on the examination table without being asked. Admiral Kincaid ordered this eval. I need documentation for official record, then immediate return to duty. Rivera pulls on latex gloves, his movements practiced and efficient. He angles the overhead light to examine her jaw. The bruising has progressed from red to deep purple, spreading across the bone in a pattern consistent with blunt force trauma from a closed fist. Swelling distorts the normal contours of her face. When he gently palpates the area, checking for fractures, she does not flinch. Can you open your mouth for me, ma'am? She complies. The inside of her lower lip shows a laceration approximately 2 centimeters long where tissue caught between knuckles and teeth. No active bleeding now, but the wound is fresh enough that it will need monitoring for infection. Range of motion looks good, Rivera says, stepping back. No fracture I can detect without imaging. But ma'am, with all respect, this injury is consistent with assault. I need to document that in the report. Document accurately. That is your job. And I need to ask if you want to file. The matter is being handled through appropriate channels. Your concern is noted and appreciated. Please complete the examination. Rivera hesitates, then pulls out a digital camera. I need photos for the medical record. Proceed. He takes 6 images from different angles, each one capturing the extent of damage in clinical detail. Then he applies antibiotic ointment to the lip laceration, checks her pupil responses for signs of concussion, and tests her balance and coordination. Everything except the visible trauma comes back normal. Ma'am, I strongly recommend you take at least 24 hours of light duty. The swelling will get worse before it gets better, and there is risk of... Recommendation noted. Write the report. I will be returning to full duty immediately. Rivera knows when he is fighting a losing battle. He completes the documentation in silence, saves it to the secure medical database, and hands Lennox a cold pack wrapped in a towel. At least use this for the next 30 minutes. It will help with inflammation. Lennox accepts the pack, holds it against her jaw for exactly 15 seconds, then sets it aside. Thank you, Corpsman. Your professionalism is appreciated. She stands and exits before he can protest further. Outside, the morning has progressed into full operational tempo. Personnel move between buildings with purpose. Vehicles navigate the base road network. Somewhere in the distance, a training cadre puts recruits through close order drill, their cadence calls carrying across open spaces. Lennox walks to a bench positioned near a maintenance shed, sits, and retrieves a secure phone from her pocket. The device looks like a standard smartphone but operates on encrypted frequencies accessible only to Black Neptune operatives. She dials a 3-digit code. Admiral Reeves answers on the first ring. Status? Medical eval complete. Corpsman documented all injuries. Photos are in the system. And Halden? MPs report he attended the Seahawk briefing, showed signs of extreme stress but followed instructions. He is currently in the skiff accessing mission files. The bait files? Affirmative. Technical surveillance confirms he opened the Aegis technical folder at 0847. Duration, 6 minutes, 23 seconds. He photographed 4 pages using a concealed camera before closing the files and exiting the skiff. Reeves exhales slowly. So he took it. The photographs show targeting algorithms and radar cross-section data for the Burke-class destroyers. Exactly the information his handlers requested 3 weeks ago according to our intercepts. And the dead drop? Scheduled for 1400 hours at the public marina, Slip 47, a fishing boat registered to a shell corporation. We have Coast Guard Investigative Service standing by to intercept. Hale, you understand what this means. Once we make the arrest, there is no walking it back. His entire chain of command will know. Your cover will be permanently compromised. Lennox watches a grounds crew truck drive past, its bed loaded with landscaping equipment. The mission was always terminal, sir. Black Neptune operatives do not return to their cover identities once they surface. I accepted those parameters when I volunteered. I know you did. But knowing it academically and living it are different things. You will be a flag officer for the rest of your career. Every person you encounter will know you spent months pretending to be junior enlisted while investigating your own service. Some will respect it, others will never trust you again. Then I will work with the ones who respect it, sir. A pause. Then Reeves says quietly, "You sound like someone half again your age." "I have had an accelerated education, sir." "That you have. All right. Continue surveillance. I will coordinate with CGIS and the MPs. Kincaid wants all 6 of us present when you make the formal presentation. Can you be ready by 1500 hours? "Yes, sir." "Then we will see this through. Reeves out." The call ends. Lennox sits on the bench for another 3 minutes, phone in hand, watching base operations continue around her. Nobody gives her a second glance. Just another sailor taking a break between duties. Unremarkable, invisible, exactly as designed. At 13:45, Lieutenant Commander Brooks Halden leaves the SEAL compound driving a personal vehicle, a gray Ford pickup with veteran license plates and a faded bumper sticker supporting a fallen comrade's foundation. The vehicle turns left out of the base main gate, merges into civilian traffic, and proceeds south on Orange Avenue toward the public marina. 3 cars back, a Crown Victoria with government plates maintains loose surveillance. 2 more vehicles provide overwatch from parallel streets. An unmarked Coast Guard boat idles near the harbor entrance, its crew in civilian clothing but with tactical gear stowed below decks. Halden parks in the marina lot at 13:56. He sits in the truck for 90 seconds, scanning his surroundings with the trained awareness of someone who has operated in hostile territory. Then he exits, carrying a small backpack, and walks toward the dock slips. The marina hosts perhaps 60 boats ranging from modest fishing vessels to expensive yachts. Tourists and locals move along the docks, some preparing boats for afternoon excursions, others returning from morning fishing trips. Seabirds wheel overhead, their cries mixing with the clank of rigging against masts and the low rumble of diesel engines. Halden reaches slip 47. The boat moored there is a 32-foot sport fisher, white hull with blue trim, named Pacific Dawn. No one visible on deck. He glances around once more, then steps aboard with the casual confidence of someone who belongs. That is when the Coast Guard personnel emerge from below. "Brooks Halden, remain where you are. Coast Guard Investigative Service. Keep your hands where we can see them." Halden freezes mid-step. His face cycles through shock, calculation, then desperate assessment of escape routes. 2 CGIS agents are already on deck blocking his path back to the dock. 2 more appear from the cabin. All 4 have sidearms visible in tactical holsters. "There is some mistake," Halden says, hands rising slowly to shoulder height. I thought this was..." "You thought this was a dead drop location for classified material you photographed this morning at Coronado Naval Base." The lead agent, a woman in her 40s with close-cropped gray hair, produces credentials. "We have been monitoring this boat for 3 weeks. We know who operates it. We know what you are here to deliver. And we know who you work for." The backpack slips from Halden's shoulder. He catches it reflexively, then realizes that sudden movement was exactly the wrong thing to do. 2 agents draw their weapons, not pointing them, but making their availability clear. "Drop the bag, slowly, then interlace your fingers behind your head." Halden's world is collapsing in real time, and the expression on his face shows every stage of the process. The bag hits the deck with a soft thud. His hands move to his head, fingers locking together. He looks like a man watching everything he built turn to ash. "Brooks Halden, you are being detained for suspected violations of the Espionage Act, specifically unauthorized disclosure of classified national defense information. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of military justice. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Do you understand these rights?" "This is wrong. I did not." "You do not understand. Do you understand these rights as I have explained them?" Halden's shoulders slump. "Yes." "Good. Hands behind your back." They cuff him with practiced efficiency. The backpack is secured as evidence without being opened on site. Within 4 minutes of stepping aboard the Pacific Dawn, Halden is being transferred to a Coast Guard vessel for transport back to Coronado, where military police and NCIS agents are waiting. He does not resist, does not argue, just stares at the deck with the hollow expression of someone whose reality has fundamentally shifted and will never shift back. The war room has been reconfigured again by the time Lennox enters at 14:43. The 6 admirals occupy chairs arranged in a semicircle facing a large display screen. Military police stand at the exits. NCIS personnel have set up recording equipment to capture everything that follows. The classification banner now reads, Top Secret, SCI, Special Access Required, No Foreign, Black Neptune. Halden sits alone at a table in the center of the room, still in handcuffs, flanked by MPs. His uniform is rumpled. His face shows the kind of fatigue that comes not from physical exertion, but from psychological collapse. When Lennox enters, his head lifts, and something complicated passes across his expression. Admiral Kincaid nods to her. Admiral Hale, please proceed. Lennox moves to the display console. She inserts a USB drive marked with evidence tags and a chain of custody log. The screen illuminates, showing the official seal of Black Neptune, a trident crossed with an anchor, overlaid with classification markings. She does not look at Halden, not yet. Gentlemen, she begins, voice carrying the same flat precision it always does. This briefing documents the conclusion of Black Neptune Mission 49A, initiated 11 months ago to investigate suspected compromise of Aegis Combat System technical data. The target of this investigation was Lieutenant Commander Brooks Halden, United States Navy, currently assigned to Naval Special Warfare Command. She clicks to the next slide. A timeline appears, stretching back 18 months. Initial indicators emerged when financial intelligence detected irregular deposits to an account associated with Halden's former girlfriend, subsequently identified as a cutout for a foreign intelligence service. Total deposits over 6 months, $430,000. Source of funds, encrypted transfers originating from accounts linked to known intelligence operatives. Click. Bank statements appear, highlighted sections showing the money trail. Concurrent with these financial indicators, NCIS received reports from 3 junior sailors that Halden had requested unauthorized access to classified technical documentation. Each request was subtle, framed as professional development or preparation for potential future assignments. Each request was denied. Each denial was followed by the sailor in question experiencing negative performance reviews or difficulty in their chain of command. Click. The 3 sailors' statements appear side by side, their testimony showing a pattern. 8 months ago, the first evidence of actual compromise occurred. A radar cross-section analysis for Arleigh Burke-class destroyers appeared on a dark web forum frequented by defense intelligence brokers. The document was fragmentary but contained data points that could only have originated from recent technical updates. Updates that Halden accessed 2 weeks prior to the leak. Halden makes a sound like he wants to object, but Admiral Chen silences him with a look. Click. The leaked document appears alongside access logs showing Halden's digital fingerprints. Standard NCIS investigation protocols failed to develop actionable evidence. Halden maintained proper operational security, used encrypted communications, and leveraged his relationships within SEAL Command to deflect scrutiny. After 6 months of conventional investigation yielded insufficient evidence for prosecution, the case was elevated to Black Neptune. She pauses, letting that sink in, then continues. Black Neptune protocol required placing a senior officer in deep cover at Coronado to create conditions under which Halden would feel secure enough to continue his activities while simultaneously documenting his actions in ways that would survive legal challenge. I was selected for this mission 6 months ago and inserted into the cover identity of a junior officer with administrative credentials. Click. Her official record appears, the one that shows 03 Lieutenant. Then it dissolves, replaced by her actual record, 07 Rear Admiral. The contrast is stark. The mission had 3 objectives. First, document Halden's pattern of harassment and intimidation towards subordinates, establishing character evidence. Second, create circumstances where he would access and photograph classified material while under technical surveillance. Third, identify and interdict his handler network to prevent future compromise. Click. Surveillance photos appear. Halden entering the skiff. Halden photographing documents with a concealed camera. Halden at the marina. Each image is time-stamped and geotagged. All 3 objectives have been accomplished. This morning, Halden accessed Aegis targeting algorithms and radar specifications in direct response to tasking from his handlers. He photographed 4 pages of material classified top-secret SCI. He then proceeded to a prearranged dead drop location where Coast Guard Investigative Service agents arrested him with the evidence still in his possession. She turns to face Halden for the first time since entering the room. The backpack you were carrying contained a micro SD card with photographs of classified material. It also contained $30,000 in cash, presumably payment for previous deliveries, and it contained a handwritten note with coordinates and a time frame for your next meeting with your handler. That note is currently being used to coordinate interdiction operations targeting the entire network. Halden is shaking his head, slowly at first, then faster. No, this is... Lennox, you do not understand. I had reasons. They were going to... You will address her as Admiral Hale, or you will not speak at all, Admiral Kincaid says sharply. Admiral Hale, Halden's voice cracks. Please, you know me. Yemen, 5 years ago. We were trapped for 14 hours. I carried you out of that ambush. I saved your life. The room goes very still. Several of the admirals exchange glances. This is new information, not in any briefing packet. Lennox's expression does not change. Yemen is not relevant to these proceedings. Not relevant. Halden lurches forward as far as the MPs allow. I took shrapnel pulling you out of that kill zone. I sat with you in that cave while you bled. I shared my last water. I told you about my family, my dreams, everything, and you just disappeared, promoted, gone. While I stayed stuck at the same rank, same assignments, watching everyone else move up. They saved each other's lives 5 years ago. Now one is an admiral, one is a traitor. Hit the thanks button to support stories like this that show how far someone can fall. Lennox is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice carries something that might be sadness if it were expressed by anyone else. You saved my life in Yemen. That is documented in both our service records. I recommended you for a medal. You received the Bronze Star with V device. I have never denied what you did. But you left me behind. You climbed and I stayed where I was. Do you know what that felt like? Everyone comparing me to you. Halden is good, but Hale is exceptional. Halden performs well, but Hale is transformational. I could not escape your shadow. So you sold your country's secrets. Not a question, a statement of fact. Halden flinches like she slapped him. I needed to prove I was just as valuable, just as capable. If I could not get promoted through the normal system, I would find another way to demonstrate my worth. By betraying everything we swore to defend. By surviving in a system that was never going to recognize me the way it recognized you. His voice rises to something close to a shout. You were the golden girl, brilliant analyst, fast-tracked for command. Meanwhile, I was just another SEAL in a community full of them. Do you have any idea what it is like to save someone's life and then watch them soar while you stay grounded? Admiral Reeves leans forward. Lieutenant Commander, are you actually attempting to justify espionage by claiming professional jealousy? I am explaining. You are confirming that your motivation was envy, that you compromised national security because you could not handle someone else's success. Do you understand how that sounds? Halden deflates. The fight goes out of him like air from a punctured tire. He slumps in his chair, handcuffs clinking against the metal table. I did not mean for it to go this far. It started small, just information that did not seem critical. Then they wanted more, and I could not stop because they had evidence of the first compromises. They owned me. Lennox clicks to the next slide. It shows a network diagram with dozens of nodes, some highlighted in red. The intelligence service that recruited you specializes in exactly this pattern. They identify personnel with grievances, offer small amounts of money for seemingly innocuous information, then leverage the initial compromise to demand escalation. You are not their only asset in the U.S. military, but you are the one we caught. She lets that settle, then clicks again. This image shows a map with multiple locations marked. Using the information from your dead drop, we have identified 7 other active operations. CGIS and FBI are conducting simultaneous arrests as we speak. By 1700 hours, the entire network will be dismantled. Your cooperation or lack thereof will not change that outcome. It will only affect how the military justice system treats you at trial. Halden looks up at her, eyes red. Why did you hide who you were? If you had just told me you were investigating me, I could have... could have destroyed evidence, warned your handlers, fled the country. That is precisely why Black Neptune operatives maintain deep cover. She advances to another slide. This mission required me to endure verbal harassment, physical intimidation, and assault. It required me to allow you to think you had power over me while documenting your every action. It required me to watch you compromise national security while building an airtight case rather than stopping you immediately. You used yourself as bait. I used the resources available to accomplish the mission. That included accepting personal risk. Admiral Kincaid stands. The movement draws every eye in the room. Lieutenant Commander Halden, you are hereby charged under the Uniform Code of Military Justice with violations of Article 106A espionage. Additional charges include assault on a superior commissioned officer, conduct unbecoming an officer, and making false official statements. You will be held in pretrial confinement pending court-martial. All security clearances are revoked effective immediately. All access to classified facilities is terminated. Do you have anything to say? Halden looks at Lennox one last time. I was a hero once. In that cave in Yemen, I was the best version of myself. I do not know what happened between then and now. Lennox meets his gaze steadily. You were a hero then, Lieutenant Commander. Today you are a traitor. The difference is the choices you made when no one was watching. The MPs stand him up and guide him toward the door. As he passes Lennox, he stops. The MPs allow it, hands ready but not forcing movement. For what it is worth, Halden says quietly, I am sorry you had to be the one to catch me. You deserved better than that. The Navy deserved better than what you gave it. He nods slowly. Yeah, it did. They take him out. The door closes. Silence fills the war room for a count of 10. Then Admiral Kincaid turns to Lennox. His expression has shifted from command authority to something more personal. Admiral Hale, on behalf of the United States Navy and the Department of Defense, I want to acknowledge what you accomplished here. Black Neptune missions are designed to be brutal. You endured harassment, assault, and significant personal risk to build a case that will stand up in any courtroom. That took courage of a kind most officers will never be asked to demonstrate. The other 5 admirals stand. In unison, they come to attention and render a hand salute. Lennox returns the salute, her movement crisp despite the swelling still distorting her jaw. I was doing my job, sir. You were doing considerably more than your job, Admiral Reeves says. You were protecting the fleet at personal cost. That is the definition of service. Admiral Cross gestures to the display, which still shows the network diagram. What is the damage assessment? How much did he actually compromise? Lennox switches slides. A detailed breakdown appears. Halden passed targeting data, radar specifications, and operational protocols for 17 different systems over 8 months. The intelligence value to a hostile nation is estimated between $2 and $4 billion. However, because we identified the compromise early and monitored his activities, we were able to implement countermeasures. Every system he exposed has been updated with new protocols. Every vulnerability he revealed has been patched. The actual operational impact is minimal. Because you caught him, Admiral Chen says. If this had gone on another 6 months, the damage would have been catastrophic. Yes, sir. Kincaid nods. The House Armed Services Committee has been briefed. They are extremely interested in your testimony. You should expect to be called to Washington within the week. Understood, sir. There will also be consequences for SEAL Command. The fact that Halden was able to operate for this long while displaying clear behavioral warning signs indicates systemic failures in oversight. Admiral Chen, you will be leading a review of all personnel with access to sensitive compartmented information. I want every sailor with financial irregularities or behavioral flags identified and evaluated within 90 days. Chen grimaces but nods. Aye, aye, sir, it will be done. Reeves pulls out a tablet and makes notes. We also need to address the institutional response. 3 junior sailors reported concerns about Halden and were ignored or punished. That cannot stand. I am recommending we establish an independent reporting channel for security concerns separate from the normal chain of command. Agreed, Kincaid says. Draft the proposal. I want it on SecNav's desk by end of week. The admirals continue discussing policy changes, procedural updates, training requirements. Lennox listens, contributing when asked, but mostly observing the machinery of institutional correction begin to turn. This is what Black Neptune missions are designed to produce. Not just individual prosecutions, but systemic improvements. After 20 minutes, Kincaid checks his watch. Gentlemen, we have secure calls with NCIS and the Judge Advocate General's office in 30 minutes. Let's break here. Admiral Hale, a moment, please. The other admirals file out. When the door closes, Kincaid's formal bearing relaxes slightly. He gestures for Lennox to sit, then takes the chair across from her. How are you really doing? Sir? You have spent 6 months pretending to be someone you are not. You have been harassed, assaulted, and forced to watch crimes occur without immediate intervention. That takes a psychological toll. I need to know if you are actually all right or if you are simply performing all right. Lennox considers the question. I am functional, sir. The mission is complete. Personal feelings are secondary. That is not what I asked. She's quiet for a moment, then, permission to speak freely, sir? Granted. It was harder than I anticipated. Not the harassment or the assault. Those were expected. But watching Halden deteriorate, knowing that he genuinely believed his actions were justified, seeing someone who was once genuinely heroic become something unrecognizable, that was difficult. Kincaid nods. Yemen was real. What he did for you was real. That makes his betrayal more painful, not less. Yes, sir. Do you need time? Medical leave, counseling, temporary reassignment to less intense duties? No, sir. I knew the cost when I volunteered. I am prepared to continue. That is what I thought you would say? Kincaid stands. Nevertheless, you are ordered to take 72 hours of administrative leave starting immediately. No duty calls, no briefings, no work. Go somewhere off base, sleep, process, return when you are ready. Sir, that is not necessary. It is not a suggestion, Admiral. It is an order from someone who has seen too many good officers burn out because they refuse to acknowledge their own limits. Take 3 days. That is final. Lennox stands and comes to attention. Aye, aye, sir. Good. Dismissed. She exits the war room, leaving the admirals to their policy discussions and legal consultations. Outside, the afternoon sun beats down on Coronado with aggressive enthusiasm. The temperature has climbed into the low 80s. Sailors in working uniforms hurry between buildings, intent on their duties. Lennox walks across the base toward the transient quarters where her personal vehicle is parked. She passes the SEAL compound, the training facilities, the administrative complex. Familiar territory after 6 months, but all of it experienced through the lens of her cover identity. Now that lens has shattered and she will never be able to reconstruct it. Her phone buzzes, a text from an unidentified number. Tower 4 sends regards. Phase 2 parameters attached. Encrypted file requires your authentication. She opens the attachment using her personal decryption key. A mission brief loads. Another target, another investigation, another Black Neptune operation requiring deep cover and personal sacrifice. For a long moment, she stares at the screen. Then she closes the file without reading beyond the first page. 3 days, Kincaid said. She has 3 days to decide whether she wants to do this again, whether the cost is sustainable, whether becoming bait for institutional predators is a career path she can maintain without losing pieces of herself that matter. The question does not have an easy answer. She reaches her vehicle, a nondescript sedan that could belong to anyone. Before getting in, she catches her reflection in the window. The bruising has spread further, purple and yellow mixing in abstract patterns. She looks like someone who lost a fight. But she did not lose. She won by enduring, by documenting, by refusing to break when breaking would have been easier. That has to count for something. She drives off base, heading north on the Silver Strand Highway toward the open spaces beyond the city. Behind her, Coronado Naval Base continues its eternal rhythm of training and preparation and vigilance. Inside the brig, Brooks Halden sits alone in a cell, contemplating the distance between the hero he was and the criminal he became. Inside the war room, 6 admirals work to ensure the systems that enabled his betrayal get dismantled and rebuilt stronger. And somewhere in the classified files of Black Neptune, Lennox Marin Hale's mission report will be archived as a case study in how one officer's willingness to sacrifice personally can protect thousands operationally. Justice is not loud, it is patient, it is methodical, it is a woman standing silent while collecting evidence, enduring assault while building a case, hiding her rank while defending her country. They asked her rank as a joke, then every admiral in the war room saluted her. Because strength is not the absence of vulnerability. It is discipline when no one is watching. It is integrity when shortcuts are available. It is the quiet choice to protect others at personal cost. And in a Navy that values both warriors and guardians, Lennox Marin Hale proved she could be both simultaneously. The road stretches ahead. The ocean glitters to her left. Somewhere, the next mission waits. But for now, for 3 days, she drives toward a horizon where she does not have to be anyone except herself, whatever that means anymore.
Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.